One quiet afternoon, the pig family is standing together in the garden. Suddenly, a strange pop sound comes from the ground. The sound is very strange, and it sounds very serious. Daddy Pig decides to check carefully. Daddy Pig thinks the ground might be making the noise.
Oh, yeah.
Mummy Pig feels that something is not quite right. Little Pig is very curious and listens very, very closely. Big Pig tries a different idea. And then they realize the sound is not coming from the ground.
Uh-oh.
Boo!
It turns out the sound is coming from Daddy Pig's shoes.
Uh-oh.
Inside the shoe, there is only a small air pocket.
Oh.
And that is why sometimes the strangest sounds come from the most ordinary things. The family hikes up the hill. The morning sky is clear. The whole family stops their car in front of a small hill, covered in green grass, with a winding trail leading up to the top. The family begins walking up the gentle slope. The younger brother keeps running and jumping, picking up stones and lightly tossing them downhill. Suddenly, slip! The younger brother loses his footing, his body tipping backward. Immediately, Dad reaches out, gripping tightly and pulling the younger brother back to his feet. Dad pats his head, signaling him to slow down. After climbing a bit further, the sister pants, hands resting on her knees. Mom stops and spreads a small cloth on a rock. She opens the food container, fruit and small snacks. The sister sits down, eating happily. The younger brother eats while swinging his legs. Dad drinks some water, looking around at the lush green hills. Suddenly, buzz! A small swarm of bees flies out from a nearby bush. The whole family jumps up in surprise. Dad signals everyone to run. Mom pulls the sister along. The younger brother runs behind them, panicked. The bees chase them for a short distance, a humorous moment. While running, the younger brother drops a piece of fruit behind him. Immediately, the bees change direction, swarming around the fruit. The family stops and turns back to look. The bees are no longer chasing them. Dad lets out a sigh of relief. Mom bursts into laughter. The sister covers her mouth, giggling. The younger brother stands with his hands on his hips, extremely proud scene change. The whole family stands on top of the small hill. Dad stands behind them, his hands resting on both children's shoulders. Mom stands beside them, her hair gently flowing in the wind. The sister smiles, all her tiredness forgotten. The younger brother stretches his arms wide, pretending to be a conqueror of the mountain peak. The race on the sand. An afternoon at the beach. The sky is clear. Waves gently lap the shore. The wide beach stretches out, still marked with footprints left by people who passed by earlier. The whole family stands near the water's edge. Dad bends down, using a stick to draw a long line in the sand. He stands up straight and raises his hand, signaling the starting line. Mom and the sister step into position. The sister warms up her legs, bouncing lightly. Mom smiles, hands on her hips. Ready? The younger brother stands right at the line, crouching low, his eyes full of mischief. Getting ready, the family lines up side by side. Dad raises his hand high. Suddenly, the younger brother dashes off early, before Dad's hand even comes down. The sister's eyes widen. Mom bursts out laughing. Dad turns, pointing in surprise. Cheating! And the place. The younger brother runs a few steps. The soft sand sinks under his feet. His steps wobble. Bam! He tumbles onto the sand. Sand clings to his clothes. His hair a mess. He sits up, a little stunned. The family rushes over. The sister reaches him first. She helps him sit up, brushing sand off his clothes. Mom kneels down, brushing away the sand while checking on him. Her worried look quickly turns to relief. Dad arrives last, putting on a stern face for a moment. Then bursting into loud laughter. The younger brother looks at everyone, then grins too, shy and embarrassed. Ending. The family gathers again at the starting line. This time, everyone stands properly in place. The younger brother looks at Dad, raising his hand to ask for the signal. The sound of the waves mixes with bright laughter. Final frame, the family standing on the beach, the marks of a fall still in the sand, but joy filling the air. Paper Boat Day. The river flows slowly, sunlight shimmering on the water. The whole family sits together by the riverbank. Colorful sheets of paper lie in front of each person, folding the boats. The older sister sits upright, folding her paper carefully. The creases are neat and straight, forming a small, well-balanced boat. Dad holds a larger sheet of paper. He folds slowly, using firm hands. His boat turns out big and sturdy, with a wide base. The younger brother sits nearby, struggling a bit. One side folds crooked, the other gets wrinkled. His boat looks misshapen, with a bent tip and uneven sides. The younger brother looks at his boat, then at the other two. He scratches his head shyly. Mom sits behind them, watching everything, smiling gently. The family stands up and walks closer to the water. The 3 paper boats are placed carefully on the river's surface. Dad gives a signal with his eyes. All 3 gently release their boats at the same time. The boats begin to drift with the current. Watching closely, the sister's boat moves straight and steady, but slowly. Dad's boat is heavier, stable, but it doesn't go very far. The younger brother's boat wobbles at first. Everyone thinks it might sink soon. Suddenly, a small current nudges the crooked boat toward the middle of the river. It glides faster, pulling ahead of the others. The younger brother's eyes widen. He runs along the riverbank, following his boat. The sister and dad stop and stare. They look at each other in surprise. The younger brother's boat travels the farthest, becoming a tiny dot in the distance. The younger brother jumps up, pointing excitedly. The sister laughs. Dad claps loudly. Mom steps closer and gently pats the younger brother's head. The whole family stands together, clapping and laughing happily. The afternoon sun paints the riverbank in warm gold. The Kite Flying Contest. The whole family walks out onto a wide open field. A gentle breeze blows, and the sky is clear blue. Dad carefully unfolds the kite, checking the frame and the string. Mom spreads a small mat on the ground, smiling, one hand shading her eyes as she looks up at the sky. The sister holds the kite string spool, her eyes focused, a little nervous. The younger brother hops around excitedly, hugging a kite almost as big as himself. Dad gives the signal. The younger brother runs forward, the kite dragging along the ground. The sister holds the string and slowly lets it out. Dad stands behind her, gently placing a hand on her shoulder, guiding each movement. Mom claps to cheer them on as the wind grows stronger. The kite lifts off the ground, trembling slightly, then drops back down. A sudden strong gust of wind blows. The kite shoots up into the sky. The younger brother runs too fast. The string pulls tight, and the kite drags him along without stopping. His feet slip slightly. He leans back but still refuses to let go of the string. The whole family gasps, then bursts out laughing. Mom runs after him a few steps. Dad reaches out to catch him, but the younger brother keeps getting pulled around in circles like an unwilling athlete. Stability and victory. At last, Dad quickly grabs the string. The sister plants her feet firmly and adjusts the rhythm of letting the string out. The younger brother finally stops, panting, then breaks into a wide grin. The kite gradually stabilizes, flying higher, flying straight. Gently gliding across the clear blue sky, the whole family lifts their heads to look up. Mom folds her arms, her face glowing with joy. Dad nods in satisfaction. The sister holds the string steadily, full of pride. The younger brother plops down on the ground, gazing up at the highest flying kite he has ever seen. The camera tilts up, following the kite. The kite grows smaller against the blue sky. Trip to the farm, morning at the farm. The whole family steps out of the car, looking at the lush green fields. The older sister and younger sibling take a deep breath, their eyes shining. Mom hands the seeds to Dad, points to the garden bed.
Let's go.
Dad rolls up his sleeves and nods with determination. The sister and siblings spot the chickens and cows, point excitedly. Dad and Mom. Dad digs a bit too hard. Dirt splashes onto his shirt. Mom neatly sows the seeds, adjusting the vegetable rows. The younger sibling scatters grain for the chickens. The chickens rush over, clucking. The older sister carries a bucket of grass for the cows. The cows lower their heads and eat slowly. The two kids laugh with delight. Suddenly, a camel walks over from somewhere. The youngest gets scared and steps back. The youngest turns and runs away, and the animal runs after them. At a corner wall, the youngest has nowhere else to go and stands still, eyes closed. Suddenly, the camel slows down, stops, and eats the handful of grass in the youngest's hand. It turns out it was only following because of the food. The youngest pats its head, and the older brother runs over to play too. Scene change. Mom and Dad stand happily, watching the two kids play with the livestock. The kids ride on the camel's back, strolling around the farm. A chicken suddenly flies over, lands on the camel's head, and crows loudly. The siblings burst into laughter. After a while, Mom and Dad return to the vegetable garden. The kids hop down and walk over as well. The whole family works together. Dad carries a basket of vegetables. Mom waters the plants. The older sister closes the chicken coop gate. She neatly places the feed bucket. Everyone looks at each other and nods in satisfaction. The family sits resting under a tree. Chickens peck at grain nearby. Cows chew grass slowly. Dad gives a thumbs up. The whole family smiles happily. Building a house from branches. Sunlight filters through the canopy, casting patches of light on the ground. The air is cool, carrying the scent of wood and dry leaves. The whole family walks into a small clearing. Dad looks around and nods, choosing a spot to build the shelter. Mom and the sisters smile and start gathering leaves. The younger brother runs ahead excitedly, his eyes bright with curiosity. Dad collects sturdy branches, stacking them neatly. The sister gathers large leaves, shaking off the dirt. Mom ties the leaves into small bundles. The younger brother discovers a very large branch. He hugs it with both arms and tries to lift it. The branch is too heavy. He drags it a few steps, then stops. He grits his teeth and tries harder, his face turning red. The branch moves slightly, then won't budge. Dad notices and runs over immediately. He bends down and lifts the branch together with his son. Father and son work in sync, carrying the branch back to the building spot. The younger brother looks at Dad and smiles proudly. Building the shelter. The branches are raised into a frame. Dad holds the main structure steady. The younger brother passes over smaller branches. Mom and the sister bring the leaves. Together, they layer the leaves onto the roof, stacking them carefully. A light breeze rustles through the leaves. The small shelter slowly takes shape, simple but sturdy. The sky suddenly darkens. A raindrop lands on a leaf. Tap, tap. The rain quickly grows heavier. The family looks up in surprise. Dad signals quickly. Everyone runs into the newly built shelter. Rain pours down outside. The leaves on the roof tremble, but still keep the rain out. Inside, the family sits close together. The younger brother stares out at the rain, wide-eyed. The sister covers her mouth, laughing softly. Dad exhales in relief, glancing up to check the roof. Mom opens her bag. She takes out fruit and shares it with everyone. The family eats fruit while listening to rain tapping on the leafy roof. Small boat ride. Early morning. The lake surface is calm, with a thin mist still hovering above the water. The car stops by the shore. Mom, the older sister, and the younger brother step out first, standing close together and posing for photos. All three smile brightly. At the back of the car, Dad opens the trunk, takes out 2 small boats, and gently places them at the water's edge. Out on the lake, the family splits into 2 boats. Dad and the younger brother sit in one boat. Mom and the older sister sit in the other. The 2 boats push off from the shore and drift gently toward the middle of the lake. The sister sits upright, curiously looking around. Mom rows calmly, a occasionally turning back to look at the two father and son behind them. A small incident.
Whoa!
The younger brother leans down and plays with the water using his hand. Water splashes, sparkling under the sunlight. The boat begins to tilt slightly. The younger brother panics, flailing his arms. Dad immediately grabs him, pulling him closer to sit safely. On the other boat, Mom notices and turns around. She opens her bag, takes out life jackets, and hands them over to Dad. Then, Mom and the sister put on their life jackets as well. Dad takes out 2 fishing rods from a small box. He gives one to the younger brother. He keeps one for himself. The father and son sit side by side, lowering their lines into the water. The lake reflects their silhouettes, peaceful and still. On the nearby boat, Mom opens a food basket. She takes out snacks and fruit. She hands them to the sister. The two enjoy their food while looking around, relaxed and at ease. A small fish wiggles, making the float on the line bob gently. The younger brother's eyes widen as he grips the rod tightly. Dad places a hand on his shoulder, guiding him gently. The whole family laughs happily, their laughter softly echoing over the still water. Camping night, the car slowly pulls into an open clearing near the forest. The sun is setting, casting a warm orange glow across the wide sky. Dad steps out first, looks around, and nods with satisfaction. Mom opens the trunk and takes out the tent and supplies. Dad and Mom work together to set up the tent. Dad holds the frame. Mom stretches the fabric and tightens the ropes. The tent slowly stands firm in the middle of the clearing. Nearby, the two kids excitedly start a campfire. The sister neatly stacks the firewood. The little brother crouches down and gently blows sparks flicker, and the fire catches. They look at each other and smile happily. When everything is ready, Mom spreads a large mat in front of the tent. The family brings out the food: breadfruit, sausages, drinks. Dad places the grill over the fire. Sausages and food are laid on the grill, sizzling and filling the air with a delicious smell. The family sits together, grilling, eating, laughing, and enjoying the moment. Suddenly, rustle! A sound comes from the nearby bushes. The little brother jumps, eyes wide. He quickly hides next to Mom. Mom gently places a hand on his shoulder to reassure him. Dad stands up, holding a sausage, and walks closer. The bushes shake slightly. A small cat jumps out. The family lets out a sigh of relief. Dad bends down and gently places the sausage on the ground. The cat sniffs, grabs it, and runs off into the darkness. Dad turns back and gestures. All good. The family sits back down by the fire. The flames burn steadily. Laughter fills the air again. The little brother relaxes and continues eating. The sister turns the sausages on the grill. Mom adjusts the mat. Dad looks at his family and smiles contentedly. A warm, peaceful camping night, filled with laughter. The first trip to the beach. The car stops near the beach. Waves murmur in the distance, and the breeze carries the salty scent of the sea. Dad takes a deep breath, shading his eyes with one hand as he looks out at the ocean. Mom smiles, holding the younger brother's hand. The sister runs a few steps ahead, her eyes sparkling with excitement. A small wave rolls onto the shore. The water touches the younger brother's feet. He startles and quickly turns back, hiding close against Mom. He clings tightly, his face slightly worried. Mom bends down, hugging him close and gently patting his back to reassure him. With her other hand, she holds a coconut with a straw, takes a sip, and looks completely relaxed. The waves continue to lap softly, no longer as scary as before. After a while, the younger brother peeks out at the sandy beach. His eyes stop on a shimmering seashell. He hesitates for a second, then lets go of Mom's hand. He runs over and bends down to pick up the shell. His face lights up. He hops around happily, holding the shell up high to show off his treasure. Seeing this, the sister runs over, sits down to play with the sand, piling it into small mounds, laughing with delight. Mom takes out her phone, lifts it to take photos. The two children against a backdrop of blue, sea, golden sand, and soft sunlight. Meanwhile, Dad goes to find a lounge chair, pulls it closer, lies down to sunbathe, hands behind his head, looking completely relaxed. After a while, the younger brother sneaks a look toward Dad. He bends down and scoops up a handful of seawater. Splash! He throws water at Dad and bursts into laughter. Dad jolts upright in surprise. Before he can react, Mom steps in and splashes lightly too. The sister joins in, cheering and splashing again and again. Water flies everywhere. Dad pretends to fight back, and the whole family runs around, splashing water and laughing together. Climbing the tree to pick fruit. Morning in the garden. Sunlight filters through green leaves. In the middle of the garden stands a large apple tree, its branches heavy with ripe red apples, gently swaying in the breeze. The whole family stands beneath the tree. The younger brother looks up, his eyes shining. The older sister shades her eyes with her hand, staring at the highest apples. Mom smiles, standing calmly behind them. Dad looks around, thinking. The younger brother bends his knees and jumps up, reaching as high as he can. His fingers stretch, but still can't reach. The sister picks up a long stick and steps back a little. She lifts it up and taps at the branch. The branch shakes slightly, the apples wobble, but none fall. The younger brother looks at his sister, then back up at the apples, a bit disappointed. The two siblings stand under the tree, gazing upward, catching their breath. Mom walks away for a moment, then returns with a mat. She spreads it out under the shade of the tree. Mom sits down comfortably, signaling everyone to rest for a bit. The sister sits beside Mom. The younger brother squats nearby, his eyes still fixed on the apples above. Dad disappears behind the shed. A moment later, he comes back carrying a ladder. Dad places the ladder securely against the trunk. He checks each step and nods. Dad climbs the ladder carefully. He reaches the higher branches and picks the apples one by one. The younger brother claps excitedly. The sister stands up, watching every move. Mom looks up, smiling with relief. Dad climbs down and hands an apple to each person. The younger brother hugs the biggest apple to his chest. The sister turns hers in her hand, delighted. Mom takes one and gently wipes it clean. The apple tree stands quietly in the sunshine, and beneath it, a family gathered together, eating fruit and laughing happily. Fishing day. The lake sparkles under the sunlight. The water is clear, and from time to time, fish leap out of the water, sending ripples across the surface. The whole family stands by the shore. The younger brother points at the water, jumping with excitement. The sister leans forward, watching every splash. Mom sets a large basket down on the grass. Dad looks around, smiling, ready to begin. Dad opens his bag and takes out a fishing rod. The sister holds a fishing net, giving it a light shake to get used to it. Mom sits beside the basket, gesturing. Whoever catches a fish, throw it in here. Catching fish. Dad casts the line into the lake. The float bobs gently, trembling with the movement of the water. The sister swings the net quickly. Splash! A fish lands in the net. She quickly tosses it into Mom's basket. Thump! Mom places the fish neatly inside, smiling. In the water, the younger brother chases fish with his bare hands. Fish slip through his fingers. He nearly slips, water splashing everywhere. Dad's float jerks suddenly. He pulls up the rod. A fish thrashes wildly. The sister runs over to help. Father and daughter work together, bringing the fish onto the shore. The fish is tossed into the basket. At last, the younger brother catches a small fish. He lifts his hands high, showing off his prize. The fish flops, splashing water onto his face. The younger brother grins, runs back to shore, and throws the fish into Mom's basket. Mom accepts it, brushing off the water, nodding in approval. Time passes quickly. The basket slowly fills with fish, tails flapping inside. Dad sits down, breathing lightly, his clothes speckled with water. The sister's pants are wet on one side, her hair a bit messy. The younger brother is covered in mud and water, but can't stop smiling. Mom lifts the basket, looking at the catch, then at her family. The whole family stands by the lake. Everyone is wet and messy, but their faces are bright with joy. Building a wooden bridge. Sunlight filters through the trees, birds chirping softly. A small stream winds through the garden, its clear water flowing gently. The family strolls together. The younger brother runs ahead, curious, and heads toward the stream. He bends down to play with the water, tossing a few small stones. Suddenly, he slips. The younger brother falls lightly near the stream, his clothes getting muddy. Mom quickly rushes over. She helps him up and brushes the mud off his clothes. Dad stands nearby, looking at the stream, then at the family. He pauses to think, then his eyes light up. With a gesture, he suggests, "Let's build a small bridge." Mom and the sister nod. The younger brother looks at the stream, then at Dad, excited again. Dad heads to a small shed in the garden. He returns carrying wooden planks, placing them by the stream. Mom comes back with rope. She checks its strength, tying a test knot. The sister and the younger brother each carry a hammer. They stand side by side, waiting for instructions. Building together. Dad sets up the bridge frame first. He places 2 sturdy planks across the stream, aligning them carefully. Mom kneels down, tying the rope to secure the planks at both ends, her hands moving quickly. The sister holds the planks steady. The younger brother hammers the nails in, each strike a bit crooked but full of effort. The sister helps adjust, and the two work in rhythm. Dad checks the bridge one last time, pressing down gently to test its strength. Finished! After a while, the small wooden bridge is complete. The stream flows beneath it, sparkling. The younger brother steps onto the bridge first. It's stable, not wobbling at all. The sister follows, then Mom. Dad crosses last, nodding with satisfaction. The family stands by the stream, admiring the new bridge. The younger brother points at it, smiling brightly. The sister crosses her arms proudly. Mom smiles gently. Dad looks at everyone with warm eyes. Lost in the park. The park is crowded, filled with cheerful chatter and the sound of children running and playing everywhere. Tree shadows stretch across the pathways, while warm golden sunlight filters gently through the leaves. Dad walks in front, holding a park map. Mom walks beside him, carrying a bag of snacks. The sister keeps turning back as she walks, keeping watch. The younger brother trails behind, his eyes fixed on a brightly colored butterfly the moment they get separated.
Whoa.
The butterfly flutters low, then suddenly soars high. The younger brother runs after it, laughing with delight. The butterfly glides past flower bushes and stone benches. The younger brother turns down a small side path. A quick cut. The family walks a few more steps, then stops. The sister turns around. He's gone. She startles, looking around. Mom freezes, worry filling her eyes. Dad spins around quickly. Tension builds. Mom and Dad rush back, scanning every pathway. The sister stands on a stone bench, rising on her toes to look far ahead. The crowd moving back and forth blocks their view. Elsewhere in the park, peaceful and calm, the younger brother sits neatly on a bench, holding a big ice cream, his face smudged with a bit of cream, his legs gently swinging. The younger brother slowly licks his ice cream, gazing up at the sky, watching birds fly by. Completely calm.
Whoa.
The sister arrives first and freezes in surprise. Mom and Dad follow, letting out sighs of relief. Mom bends down and wraps the younger brother in a tight hug. Dad rests his hands on his knees, exhausted but relieved. The sister covers her mouth, giggling softly. Morning jog. Early morning. A thin mist floats over the lake. The first sunlight peeks through the trees, and the air feels fresh and cool. The whole family stands by the running path around the lake. Dad warms up his shoulders and legs. Mom adjusts her shoelaces. The older sister stretches her arms and takes a deep breath. The younger brother bounces in place, full of energy. Crease, cross. Starting the run. The family begins jogging slowly around the lake. Their footsteps fall into a gentle rhythm. The younger brother soon picks up speed, running ahead. His arms swing strongly, his steps light and quick. He glances back with a confident smile. The sister keeps a steady pace. Mom runs behind, her breathing calm but slower. Getting tired. After some distance, Dad starts to breathe heavily, his shoulders drooping slightly. His pace slows. Mom notices and White Gall slows down. Running beside Dad, she looks over at him, checking in with her eyes. The younger brother runs far ahead, then suddenly stops. He turns around and looks back at the family. A moment of connection. The younger brother runs back toward them. He comes up to Dad. He takes Dad's hand, giving a gentle pull. Father and son run together, their pace slower but more even. Dad looks at his son and smiles, taking a deep breath to recover. He squeezes his son's hand gently. The sister and Mom follow behind, smiling at the scene. Ending. The whole family runs. in one line, at a comfortable pace. The sunlight rises higher, sparkling on the lake. Their shadows stretch long along the path. Their footsteps move in harmony. Final frame. A family jogging by the lake in the morning. No one left behind. Today is a lovely day. A perfect day for a walk.
Ah.
But then, the family finds a puddle. The puddle is not very big, but it is not very small, and it is very wet. Daddy Pig thinks he can easily step over the puddle. But the puddle has other plans. When one person laughs, everyone starts laughing. The puddle is actually very fun. When everyone is wet, nobody is wet alone. And that is why this family of pigs loves going for walks. Cool afternoon. The backyard is filled with sunlight, lush green trees, and a few wooden chairs scattered around. Dad stands in the middle of the garden, facing a large tree, covering his eyes with both hands. Mom, the sister, and the younger brother stand behind him, exchanging mischievous smiles. Dad starts counting in a steady rhythm. Mom and the two kids quickly scatter to hide. Mom is found first. Mom rushes off, glancing around. Spotting a mini refrigerator in the yard, she slips behind it, trying to hold back her laughter. Dad turns around and walks slowly, pretending to think as he looks around. He moves closer to the refrigerator. One of Mom's arms accidentally sticks out. Dad bends down to look. Mom startles, then bursts out laughing. Dad points and shakes his head, laughing cheerfully. Mom steps out, playfully admitting defeat. The sister's turn. The sister quickly crawls under the wooden table on the porch. She tucks her legs in and covers her mouth. Dad scans the area and approaches the table. Dad bends down. Their eyes meet. The sister smiles awkwardly. Dad crosses his arms and nods, as if saying, "I knew it." The sister steps out, and she and Mom wait together, watching around nervously. The younger brother can't be found. Dad searches all over the garden. Behind the trees, behind the chairs, behind the flower bushes, he finds nothing. Dad rests his hands on his hips, looking around in confusion. He turns to call Mom and the sister to help search. The unexpected moment scene shifts indoors. Mom opens the bedroom door. The sister bends down to look under the bed. The younger brother is lying under the bed, hugging a small pillow, sleeping soundly. The whole family freezes for a few seconds, then looks at one another and bursts out laughing.